earlier indicated there was going to be a very important conversation, and this conversation focuses on World Book and Copyright Day, which is today. And so this morning, I'm not here by myself. I have guests in the studio, Mr. Chris Wecha, who is a program officer for Culture Ghana Commission for UNESCO. Mr. Oswald Okaite is here with me. He is Executive Director, Ghana Reads Initiative, and he's also a poet. Mr. Enesopon, who is Assistant Executive Secretary, Ghana Publishers Association. And we are having a conversation about World Book Day and Copyright Day as well. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
I'm hoping everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so for me, who doesn't understand why there is even a World Book Day and a World Copyright Day? What's the significance of the day? If Mr. Wecha would want to start for us, what's the significance?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us, and good morning to our viewers. The World Book Day, it's a very important day that was established by UNESCO in 1995 to celebrate books and to also promote reading and celebrate good and genres who have been producing books and literature. So it is a day, you know, UNESCO is a laboratory of ideas, and UNESCO promotes peace through education, culture, and then information. So the importance of this day is to, promote book as a vital vehicle to access, transmit information through culture, to transmit education and promote education through culture and then the ideals of UNESCO. So it is a very important day, and we need to celebrate the day as to foster reading and also to promote innovation and creativity through reading and so forth. Yeah. So that is basically what I was saying.
So the obvious default question would be, are people reading to merit the celebration of the day?
We are supposed to read, and that is the focus of the day. But as during the COVID era, where people were confined, statistically it has been proven that a lot of people read because people were in their rooms. They had limited time outside. They couldn't go outside. So the only option available for them was to resort to reading. And so statistically from 2020 to 2021, thereabout, a lot of people have been reading. And that is a very important information for us to have. And also, I mean, when we celebrate the day, UNESCO also chooses a country or a country where they, for a World Book Capital. And what it means is that there's going to be a year-long activity to promote reading. It depends on the kinds of activity you want to take. We have reading challenge, we have night reading, we have, depending on the various programs you want to put across. So I can say people have been reading, and statistically during the COVID era, people have resorted to reading in order to combat isolation and other forms of boredomness.
All right. Mr. Kate, the point about relevance and whether we are indeed reading, because I know when I put a question to him, I saw your body language. You reacted. Are people reading?
Well, people are reading, but it depends on what material you want to talk about. That's from Ghana Reads Initiative point of view. I feel like we have students who read. It depends on what you want to. Many times when we tend to say people are not reading, we tend to focus on leisure reading, as in people picking books to read for leisure. But like I keep saying, the serious student knows I need to read my book to get my knowledge, to pass my exams. The religious Christian or the Muslim will have to read the Bible in the morning, the Quran for faith purposes and almost all of that. And someone needs to read a manual in order to understand how machine works. They do the reading. But our problem, for which a lot of people say African don't like, is reading for leisure. And so that is where the issue is. Because if you go to schools currently, people want to polish books for textbooks, academic, and almost all of that. So that is where we have a little bit shortfall. Having a lot of people who decide to, instead of watching TV or instead of watching video, I can decide to have a break and then maybe do a bit of reading. People to understand that even reading a book is just watching a film in print and almost all of that. That's where we have the bit of challenge. So yes, people are reading, but when it comes to leisure reading, that's where we have a bit of a problem.
It's interesting you mentioned video, because now there's competition for the reading culture today. Because most of the content that you'd read in books are all being digitalized today. And so a book that talks about how to fix your wiper if it gets spoiled, there's a video for that. And so people prefer rather to watch. People are listening to podcasts, which are about books. And so to resort to the hard copy or even the soft copy of that book is a problem. And so would I be right to say that reading is being benched for other alternatives for the same content within that book? Anyone can answer.
Well, I think, we haven't made that active efforts to let people appreciate. So those who are using the audio, the video, and the podcast are making that push for people to embrace. Do you get me? So the question now becomes, what's happening to our libraries? It is the duty of our libraries and those who are custodians of the books to push. You can't just sit and think that in the olden days where people decide to move to the library, it should be so. A library should have a lot of activities, especially what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, for instance, we have read and bounce. We have the blast the balloon and read. We have play the Ludo dice and read. So it depends on how you get them to understand.
Wait, are there libraries in the system?
That's a good question. There are libraries.
Really?
There are libraries, and they have decided to go the old way. Okay, we have stocked the library. We are sitting. Come to the library. So we have a lot of people who go to the library not necessarily for leisure reading, but to read, to write exams. Do you get me? So it means that we have to look at the way our libraries function now. We have moved from a particular age to a different age. Now there is a lot of competition. Those days people had to move to the library. We didn't have so many televisions and other things. But we are having competition. So it means the libraries need to step up the games. What activities do you do? If there's a weekly activity or monthly activity for the community library, how do you go about things? So you need to embrace events.
Sorry for the interruptive session we are having.
It's
this
good. That's a
morning.
conversation.
Not very usual of me. But off the top of my head, I'm thinking, where would I find? I think it's around the TUC place that there's supposed to be a library there. Apart from that one, I have no clue where else I would find a library in the city.
Oh, tomorrow we're having an event at Dunk Library. That's Jamestown. There's Kolegono Community Library. There is a Mabubinimba Community Library. There is Osu Library. We have the Ianasi Library. That just
now you are saying all these things because by virtue of the work you do, But back in the day when I was in primary school, when Tintin was the book to read, when Mills and Boons were the books for our ladies, when the famous Five and Co were the books we were reading, the local printed books were the ones we were reading, we knew where the libraries were. Around the cultural center area, there was a library there. Around Amakoma, I grew up in Kumasi. There were several libraries scattered all over the place, and we knew. But if you like, let's activate the phone lines and ask children from class 6 to JHS 3 whether they know libraries in Accra, and it will be a problem. Why? Are the schools themselves inculcating that training into kids that library is part of the educational system and so you must go to a library? Is there that thing in the system today? No, as for you, relax. I'll come. Let me deal with that. As for you, relax, because you see, local content. And the last time you came here, when we were having the conversation about, our storybooks and all, it hurts that now we don't have a lot of local content. And so far, as I sat here and I was mentioning books, see the books I was mentioning. So I'll come to you shortly about you, the publishers, and all of that. But let me stay with them. Who is creating the awareness about the library for that child in school today?
So, we have the Ghana Library Authority, so predominantly it means they are supposed to be championing that cause. But then again, realize you can't just leave it all to them alone. Each one of us should be stakeholders. And so we keep saying that way. We have a lot of lip service. People say we need to read and we are not reading, but the question is, okay, that is it. We have accepted that fact. We have been able to identify that problem. But what steps are what are individuals taking doing in order to get this problem solved? So like Ghana Race Initiative just became one person's idea. So like, why don't we help solve the problems? But as we speak now, we don't even have corporate institutions ready to support such activism. Sometimes you have to tell you the kind of things you have to go through just for literary activity to come to bear. You will not understand. Do you understand me? And so while it is Ghana Library Authority that's supposed to champion this cause, but then we can't just leave it to them alone. It starts from the family. When you look at socialization the first agent of socialization is the family. So from the family you move to peers, then you come to school. Do you get me? And so it means first and foremost we have to look at the families. And I've always said that we keep saying that we don't like leisure reading because we are not having that leisure reading in the inner cities and the zongos. But the well-to-do families, of course, know, maybe from where you're coming, your father knows that you need to pick this book and read and almost all of that.
Oh, no, my brother. We were the hustlers. So.
No.
Me, I grew up at Kumasi Asafo. Yes.
But then we didn't have such competition. But I'm talking about this current dispensation. Now, the well-to-do family, of course, they have the 3 meal square and whatever. So they can say, no, you need to read, it's time for library. But we move to the inner cities and the zongos. They're struggling to even get the 3 square meal, let alone to tell the children to go and read.
But interestingly, the picture you paint is not really the reality on the ground. If you are, let's say, looking at the contrast between the inner city and then the rich folks. In the rich folks' home today, when you enter, there's the PS5, there's the Xbox that is there. There's a subscription to Netflix, YouTube, and all the others available to the child.
No, notwithstanding, you go to, when you have literary activities, those who drive their children there, those who want to buy the books are the same rich folks. So we have this, and then that's why I mentioned that they understand that all work and no play make Jack a dull guy. So there are times, I know some families, because by virtue of the work we do, they have timetable. So you have 3 days to play your PS game. You have about 2 days to do your reading. You have to do almost all of that. So it is planned. Do you get me? But you don't have such situations in the inner city, in the zongos. Because the father or the mother is striving to put meal on the table. Let alone to say, go and pick your book and read. Sometimes, even when you move to such communities, reading becomes punishment. Because you didn't go to school, go and pick your book and read. Do you get the whole scenario? And so these are some of the things we realize in there. So if we are able to, of course, from the Ghana Library Authority and then the agencies, what they can begin to do, a lot of education for parents to understand the relevance of reading. But then again, moving to the communities, it has to do with you, me, and everyone. So we have to find ourselves as stakeholders.
Mr. Ocha, my final question before I come to you, sir. Are we getting the concept of reading and library systems wrong, seeing the evolution of things? Because as I sit here as a journalist, and to be honest, if you gave me this, and you gave me a soft copy on my phone, I would choose this. Why? If I read a section that's going to be relevant to the conversation we are having, I'll mark and take a screenshot. It's in my pictures. I go on reading, I see something else I like. I'm able to highlight with the different colors and color code them and all of that to allow for easy access
Yeah.
if I'm conducting an interview.
Yeah.
This one, I know we are talking about reading, so forgive my pidgin. For the hustle, the open page, then I have to get a marker. Mark. Why would I want to go through this? When this one makes it easy, wherever I'm going, this is with me, any day, anytime. Are we getting the concept wrong? Because as we are asking, all we are asking is, oh, where are the libraries? I asked that question. But shouldn't rather we be asking, where are the applications?
All right. Can I talk?
Yes, you can.
All right. I want to give this example. I mean, coming from culture and heritage background, you know, museums. Museums, the traditional function of a museum is for you to walk into a museum and see objects or artifacts, and then, you know, you interpret them yourselves. Now, we are moving into an age of digitization and digitalization, where museum is moving into a space of digitization. So you can sit in the comfort of your home and walk through the museum of, let's say, Museum de l'Homme in France and see all the objects that you want to see. We are not saying that we have to jettison the traditional functions of libraries, but one of the main focus of World Book Day is to promote easy access to books. Now, how do somebody in a village in Seshi get an easy access to a book that he or she may not find over there? But if those books can be accessed through internet or any applications that he can access to read the books, I think it's something that we also have to embrace, so that those who may not have the opportunity to drive into libraries or those communities where there's no library at all can have digital forms or e-books to read. So for me, for easy access, we have to explore the various avenues where books can be accessible. And the main reason why we read is to share ideas. You know, we have people who produce books and they have retinue or a plethora of experiences, and we need to read to understand what people have gone through, and also to understand different groups of people and different cultures and backgrounds. So easy access ought to be promoted. And how do we go about it? And these are things that Ghana Library Authority and other stakeholders need to explore, so that as the team is, you must read so that you never feel alone. And I think that for us to promote that, or to ensure that that do not happen, we have to make easy access to books for everyone. And that is where we have to look at and what we need to explore, so that everybody can have access to books.
Mr. Paul, I'll come to you at this point. Where are the books?
That's an interesting question. I must tell you that we have so many books in the system. Sometimes when you are not on the field, you can make a general statement that publishers are not publishing books for the country. But that is not the picture. Because I work at the Ghana Publishers Association at the Secretariat, where members submit copies of their books published to the Secretariat. So we know volumes of supplementary readers that are being published by our members, in addition to textbooks. When it comes to a platform like this, we put textbooks aside and concentrate on supplementary readers. Well, supplementary readers are vehicles for functional literacy. You don't read a textbook to be functionally literate. That one will only help you to understand a particular course or subject. Yeah, but if one wants to understand, have his mind open up, learn new words, imbibe cultural values in people, it's all about reading supplementary readers. And publishers have so many supplementary readers, but the challenge we have as a country is we have not made
adequate investment in the procurement and accessibility of supplementary readers for children or young adults.
Let me pause you again. Forgive my very interactive nature this morning. I am not usually like that, but I'm not the type to also pretend when I don't know. And so you keep using the word supplementary readers. In your field, you understand what that means. In my general thinking, I'm thinking you are talking about the leisure readers and the rest of them. If I am correct, is that what you mean?
Exactly. I'm talking about fiction, storybooks, novels, short stories, poetry, drama. They are all supplementary readers. So our members have published so many of them. And for instance, when you go to Ghana International Book Fair, you see so many of such books exhibited. But as I was saying, this state has not invested much in supplementary readers. Under normal circumstances, government, for instance, has promised to supply books to public schools. Yeah, but most of the time, the concentration is on textbooks with little or sometimes nothing for supplementary readers. And again, parents also have this responsibility of buying books for their own children. They don't have to rely on government or whoever to buy books for them. I think also I was talking about the rich and the poor homes. In Ghana now, parents who are rich understand the relevance of reading and books. So they buy books for their children. When you move a little bit outskirts of Accra and the cities around the country, most of the parents do not even understand the need to buy books for their children to read. Instead of buying books, they will buy clothes for funerals and all that. Yeah, so it reflects at the end of the day in their exams. You see those who have the resources passing their final exams. Children who are struggling to even possess a book, they end up failing or performing poorly in exams. So I think the issue of reading and books is something holistic. It needs the efforts and contributions of all players. Publishers are doing their part, publishing books for the country. And sometimes at the Secretariat, we do donate books to libraries, NGOs and other individuals promoting books and reading. Yeah, so that is what publishers can do. When the books are ready, we expect that parents should also invest, buy the books for their children. Government should also buy books and stock at public libraries. I remember 2 years ago, Ghana Library Authority launched a digital platform and uploaded some books there. They approached some publishers, and some of the publishers donated free copies, some free copies to the online library, with the expectation that Ghana Library Authority will approach us, buy more books, like soft copies, and then stock on their online portal. Yeah, but that never happened. So when you visit the online portal now, you see so many foreign books as against local books. And that erroneously also gives this perception that we have limited or inadequate supplementary readers in the country, which is not true. Yeah, it's all about investment. So as we are saying, some of them, or the majority of people now are embracing social media, electronic stuff. So when they are able to stock more books there and people visit there, it's free. They can have access to a variety of books and read. So it's all about investment, and also government or Ghana Library Authority making sure that the libraries we have are well stocked with books, with new books, not just books. I've taken some survey to some of the public libraries we have, and when you go there, you see so many old books there. And sometimes the foreign books they have there are even more than the local books, which shouldn't be so. No white country or no foreign country will stock foreign books more than their own a boost. Yeah, so I think there should be some investment. We should, in fact, take reading and literacy more seriously.
Is it profitable being a publisher?
It's profitable. It's profitable. But it depends also on what you are publishing. For instance, the reason why many publishers publish textbooks is that textbooks have specific market. Yeah, as against supplementary readers. Publishers struggle before they sell supplementary readers. Yeah, so some of them are not publishing supplementary readers at all. Others are also blending the publication of supplementary readers and textbooks. And we have few publishers who have decided not to publish textbooks, but they are only focusing on supplementary readers. Yeah, so if you are a publisher and you don't put in place a very good marketing system, it will be very difficult for you to sell your supplementary readers because of competing factors that are coming up. Yeah, some are not ready to at least give out 10 CDs for a book. It's difficult, but it's easy to do that for textbooks.
That brings me to the point about the competition you are talking about. And this is from my personal experience.
Yeah.
Because the cover of a book and the paper used for the publication of that book, it's an integral part of the inducement to even want to read.
Yeah.
And so if I see a book by Tom Clancy, and the cover alone, the packaging, the artwork, the fonts, that alone is compelling for me to go and take that book to want to read. But if I see our local ones, no disrespect to our publishers, Charlie, sometimes we share paper no quite idea na.
But no, I think it boils down to the investment. You get me? There are a lot of people who may have what it takes to come up with good books, you know, but the investment, how to even attract fans, becomes a problem. You get me? No, that book you find not to have that attractive cover page and stuff. Find such same author or publisher and avail some funds and see if the person will not be able to come up with a better version of that same book. You get me? There's one thing we would have to understand in this country, that anytime we want to talk about creative arts, the idea just moves to music and the film and dance. But this is one integral component of creative arts.
Sure.
Books. Do you get me? So have we made such serious dedication to invest in that part of creative art? Because creative art comes in two folds. We have the fine arts and the performing arts. And writing is the heart, one of the hearts of the fine arts. Do you get me? So I think we need to set priorities right and know where and how to invest. Because if you want to discount, we have to understand that if you want to promote our culture, our tourism, and almost everything, we have to, the book becomes a very important vehicle. Do you get me? So how do we even cause this investment? Like Ghana Tourism Authority can decide to partner with Ghana Association of Writers and Publishers, that we have these funds available. Can we get people to write a book about our tourism, our Fajatu and stuff? The best one we pick and when we give the funds to. Now, these are some of the things we need to come out with. And that becomes an excitement for the publishers to want to veer and move in there. We can have maybe the Ministry of Information decide to do something, and there's a special fund just for that. Do you get me? And I tell you, you just have to understand, you are going to appreciate how profitable publishing is.
Well, our time is almost done, but for me, I know how important library is and how it helped me back in the days when I was going to the university. This was around 2000. This was around, I think 2000 thereabout. Yeah. And you know, at the time, our year group, then the 97 year group, when we were going to the university, then from nowhere they introduced an entrance exams before you enter the university. And that entrance exams gave room for the university lecturers to start their own classes to teach people. And they were charging huge sums of money. Those of us at the base, the ghetto, we couldn't pay the money. You can't. And so every day, you're at the library. You go there in the morning, by 10 a.m. you are there, you do the library around 3 o'clock. And you learn. There is no disturbance. That peaceful atmosphere is there. And there's a sense of purpose when you're sitting in the library. So at one point in time, with a few friends of mine, we decided that we can't allow for this to go waste. And so maybe you can pick it up after this show. We thought it would be needful for us to have modern libraries where we'd have a space, maybe a 20-footer container, well cladded, the interior separated into two. There's a part with computers, and there's a part with your hard books, your hardcover books. So children come, they said, there's somebody managing it. So every community would have one. Somebody sitting there, an adult, manning that facility. And so children come, they sit for 1 hour, they read. And then they come to the computer side, play a game, 30 minutes. And so that place becomes a center of attraction for children. They're coming to get knowledge on one side and then knowledge on the other side to play. Yeah. But would corporate Ghana be interested? No.
That is the problem.
And so it died. But I think that we can resuscitate that. Because for me, it's critical that children are exposed to reading and to have a desire to read. Today, every child has a phone because of COVID-19. Now they say there is something called Google Classroom, and so they put their homework or something there, and so the children will have to go there to go and download their work and do and all of those things. So every child virtually has a phone. But what do they use the phones for? Need for speed.
Facebook and the rest.
The tool, the modern tool for them to even use to learn, it's for something else. So who redirects their attention to using this to read and not for gaming? In ending, how do we achieve that drive for our youth? I'll start with you.
Okay, so I think after this, tomorrow we have tomorrow is the World Book Day, so maybe when there's an activity, so maybe after this session we have opportunity to even brainstorm a bit about what's happening tomorrow, because we have some of the things you just mentioned happening tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, like I mentioned, socialization starts from family. And so we have to make sure that family becomes very potent in driving this advocacy. But then, again, we come to the fact that we have about a larger percentage of these families who are not even aware. And that's where we have some of these agents. That's the Ghana Library Authority and then other stakeholders can come together and do that campaign. It would be very nice maybe to partner ETV and the media to have such advocacies. People finding the relevant. When it comes to drug abuse and stuff, we have such adverts that have been done. Maybe it could be taken as social, corporate social responsibility to have these advocacy, special one, that is maybe spearheaded by the Ghana Library Authority and then Ghana Book Development Council, etc. But then again, the community, like you mentioned, the community libraries would have to active themselves and understand that times have changed. So if you just want to sit back and wait for people to come to the library, you're just deceiving yourself. We need to come out, inject some level of creativity, some activities. Do you get me? It's like we're going to have tomorrow, we want to have a read and play. So like you mentioned, there's a video game guy around with a book you read, after that you move in there. Now we have a bouncer castle. You bring a book, some children will have to read after they move in. So if you decide to have monthly activities in these community libraries, of course you get to know about these libraries. Do you understand? Like you say you don't know, you get to know about them, and then that becomes traction. The children will know that there is something happening here. Some of the children may not have tasted the joy and the pleasure in reading. But once you introduce them to it and then you read, maybe they may even forget about the bouncy castle and then begin to follow the pages. Do you get me? So I think the community libraries shouldn't always be like, okay, I'm just going to sit there wait till I'm paid at the end of the month and I'm going to Muslim. We should have people with creativity. And then on this note, I think I want to comment about 2 librarians I've worked with in the community. Sharon at the Mampo Big Girl Community Library, and then Belinda at the Colegono Community Library. You know, they use culture, theater, and almost all of that to promote almost all of that. So then we have to understand each one of us has a duty in making us get this sense of new direction you're talking about.
Well, you know, for those who are watching us live on TV and listening, you know, this book, okay, now I think Eric Van Laspeter writes them. The Born series, the Born Ultimatum, the Born Identity, and all of that. I had watched the movie, but when I read the book, then I realized how much of scenes had been cut out of the movie. How much of action, vivid action, had been cut out of the movie, because they have an hour to make sure all that is in that book fits.
So it becomes an adaptation.
Yes.
So not the book. You can't produce the book. It
Yes.
becomes an adaptation. Likewise, you watch things fall apart. You not be able to. You think it is boring.
Yeah.
But when you're reading,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why you at the point you mentioned this podcast and almost all everything. No, like he mentioned, there is digital museum. There's one thing using the digital space to experience. It's another thing having a real feel of the thing. You get me?
Yeah.
And so maybe I think the digital space should be the window for you begin to experience. Then after you have to, because these tourists see a lot of things on TV, read on papers, and then they decide to come and have a physical feel of it.
Interesting. Chief.
Thank you very much. I think that we all have a role to play, and particularly with the media, to advocate for the importance of reading. I think when the media takes it up, all the media we are advocating and we are trying to encourage the young guys to read. And one interesting thing that is going to happen next year is that Accra has been selected as the capital for World Book for the whole year. So I'm sure that all the stakeholders are going to come together, and some creativity and innovation are going to come out to improve reading in the country. So we are fortunate. Maybe something is going to happen, and I'm sure and I'm positive that by the time 2023 ends, we will see some improvement in our libraries. And I'm sure they have some legacy that they want to leave after next year, building a reading village and all that. So we are moving some steps ahead, and I'm sure by next year we'll have a new story to say.
You know, it's interesting, back in the day, we used to fight over books.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to fight over books, you know, and, okay, this one, if my teacher is listening, then they'll know that I was a bad boy when I was a child. You know, when the book is interesting and you want to read it again, you know, there's a time, you have 2 weeks, I believe, to return the book for another person to also come and read. And so we'll keep the book and go and tell the librarian that, Ayira. And they'll find you, and you pay a certain amount, and then you keep the book. And it's small. So we'd rather keep the book and pay the fine than go outside and go and buy. But today, that's not there. Chief, in ending, what would be your final words?
Okay, let me say that Ghana Book Development Council is also leading the development of National Book and Reading Policy. All this while, we've not had any policy guiding books and reading. So we believe that once Ghana is able to formulate the book and reading policy, it's going to put reading in a formal framework, so that all players will know what to do. And let me also advise parents that it's time they read with their children. If you want your child to read, you read first. Read to them. If you've observed something, foreign sports, La Liga, English Premier League, and the rest, how parents go to stadium with their kids. You see the parent and then the child beside him or her. Yeah, so that is a culture.
Socialization.
Of socialization, of sports they are imbibing in their children. So the father will leave this earth and the child will still keep going to stadium, because it has been inculcated in them. So the same thing applies to our setting here. Parents must read with their children so that in their absence, their children will learn whatever they imbibed in them. They should not rely on only teachers. Teachers cannot do everything.
True.
Yeah, they should not rely on government. Government cannot do everything. Yeah, but they should own the responsibility of making sure that their children become literate. So I think and they should also participate in literary events. We have Ghana International Book Fair in August. We have literary events like reading, carnival, and then other regional book fairs and all that. They should be able to participate so that their children will learn the relevance of books and build interest in them as well. Thank you.
All right, so gentlemen, I will thank you for joining me this morning. I must say this, that on a normal day, I would have come to sit here very much well researched. Me sitting here and asking you where are the libraries, that's not me. I'd come here research, I know where libraries are.
Yeah.
But I wanted us to have a very frank and open conversation where realities are brought to the fore without assumptions.
Yeah.
That's why at some point you use your terminology for your printing section.
Yeah.
And I wanted my viewers and my listeners to follow. I understood what you meant. But I wanted them to follow that this is what you're talking about specifically in terms of leisure reading. And so I am hoping that as young men, we wouldn't just leave it here after this conversation. But you said, how about partnering Happy FM? Happy FM supports anything which has to do with children, their welfare, and their education. ETV same. This conversation should not end here. Chief, let's put together something. Charlie, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. Our airtime is for the well-being of the child. And so if we have to push it for it to happen, let's be the folks who will bring that change.
So I think on that note, tomorrow, Happy FM ATV, that Global Media Alliance, is partnering us for the commemoration of World Book Day.
Indeed.
I also want to take the opportunity to invite everyone come to Jamestown. It's not just for Charlie Water, there's a literary hub now, the Dunk Library. Tomorrow we're going to have reading workshops. We're going to read with some of the TV people you see on ETV and the radio people. We're going to have Blast the Balloon and read. We're going to read and bounce. We're going to use, play Ludo and read, like Black Bull, all kind of things. Tomorrow is not going to be boring. It's not going to be long talk. It's going to be fun. We want to explore and exploit the fun in books and reading. So tomorrow, 10 a.m., you should be there. So for 10 to 3 p.m., we have a series of activities. And then those of you studying, Professor Ladu was in this poem. He's going to be there, the poet himself. So you're going to ask him questions. Desert Rivers, Raider of the Treasure Trove, what your teachers are telling you in class, come and hear almost all of this. And it is free. We are partnering with James Sun, Prime Publications, World Reader. And then we have Coca-Cola and Young Vita come to refresh you. So it's totally free. We want you to understand that reading is not a punishment. So that when you go and your mother says, hey, because you did this, go and read. You take the book and you read and you begin to laugh and your parents begin to wonder what's happening in there. So tomorrow, it is Carnival, the 5th edition of Carnival. It's a reading carnival. All right.
And so I thank you, Mr. Chris Wecha, for joining me this morning. He's program officer for Culture Ghana Commission for UNESCO. Mr. Oswald Okaite, you just heard him speak, Executive Director, Ghana Reads Initiative. And then Mr. Enes Opon, who is Assistant Executive Secretary, Ghana Publishers Association. They joined me this morning for us to have this wonderful conversation. I'm